President Donald Trump's decision to demolish a significant portion of the White House's East Wing to make space for a new $250 million ballroom has ignited a wave of public outrage, historical concern, and political backlash. The revelation, accompanied by photographs showing heavy construction and partial demolition on the White House grounds, has sparked questions about oversight, transparency, and the preservation of one of America's most symbolic landmarks. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. The images, first obtained and published by the Washington Post, depict cranes, scaffolding, and debris covering areas of the East Wing, a sight that immediately drew condemnation from preservationists, historians, and political figures alike. Many argue that such a drastic alteration to the White House's architecture, a building steeped in over 2 centuries of national history, cannot be undertaken without proper consultation with historical and planning authorities. The National Trust for Historic Preservation voiced its alarm in a formal letter addressed to the National Park Service and other federal bodies, urging the administration to halt construction immediately. The organization warned that the proposed design could overwhelm the architectural integrity of the White House and permanently alter the balanced visual composition of the structure envisioned by the Founding Fathers. They called for the project to be paused until the National Capital Planning Commission (NCPC), the main planning authority overseeing federal buildings in Washington, D.C., and the Commission of Fine Arts have been properly consulted. Hillary Clinton, who once lived in the White House as First Lady, weighed in on the controversy, posting on X, formerly Twitter, "It's not his house. It's your house. And he's destroying it." Her remarks quickly went viral, encapsulating the frustration of critics who view Trump's move as another example of his disregard for established norms and institutions. In response, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt dismissed the criticism as nothing more than fake outrage. In an interview with Fox News, she defended the president's actions, noting that nearly every U.S. president has made renovations or upgrades during their tenure. Construction is a process, she insisted. At the end, the East Wing, which is separate from the main executive mansion, will be more modern and beautiful than ever before. She also described Trump as good at building things, portraying the project as a continuation of his lifelong interest in construction and design. However, the controversy deepened when observers recalled Trump's earlier assurances that the new ballroom would not affect the existing White House structure. In a statement from July, the president said, "It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of." The newly revealed plans contradict that promise, as the construction site sits squarely where the East Wing currently stands. According to renderings shared on the White House website, the ballroom, estimated at a vast 90,000 square feet, will be capable of hosting 650 guests, potentially expanding to nearly 1,000 for major state events. The project's designers claim the new facility will mirror the neoclassical style of the existing structure while integrating modern amenities, improved security features, and advanced acoustics for large-scale gatherings. The East Wing, however, carries deep historical significance. Originally constructed in 1902 under President Theodore Roosevelt, it was expanded in 1942 under Franklin D. Roosevelt to conceal the entrance to the underground Presidential Emergency Operations Center, a top-secret bunker designed during World War II. The wing has since served as the office space for First Ladies and their staff, becoming a symbol of continuity and the quieter side of White House life. Carol Quillen, President and CEO of the National Trust, emphasized the importance of maintaining the architectural harmony of the White House complex. The building's proportions reflect Georgian and neoclassical principles, symbolizing balance, democracy, and restraint, she said. It is a national historic landmark and belongs to the American people, not any one administration. The National Trust's letter called on the administration to comply with legally required public review processes, ensuring that any changes to the property are subjected to expert evaluation. Yet, as of Tuesday, the White House had not submitted its plans to the NCPC, though officials claimed they intended to do so soon. Complicating matters further, much of the federal government remains partially shut down due to a funding lapse, delaying responses from oversight bodies such as the National Park Service. Trump, for his part, has promised that no taxpayer money will be used for the project. Instead, he plans to rely on patriot donors, wealthy private contributors and supporters, and has pledged to make a personal financial contribution toward the cost. Critics, however, worry that this approach could blur the lines between private influence and public property. Defending the project, Will Scharf, Trump's appointee as chair of the National Capital Planning Commission and his current White House staff secretary, described the construction as one of the most exciting projects in the modern history of the district. Speaking during a public meeting on September 4, Scharf rejected claims that his commission was bypassed in the decision-making process. Any assertion that this commission should have been consulted earlier than it has been or than it will be is simply false, he said, insisting that the NCPC's jurisdiction does not extend to demolition and site preparation work on federal land. Despite these defenses, critics continue to warn that the construction represents a dangerous precedent, one in which a sitting president can dramatically reshape the nation's most iconic residence without due process or public input. As demolition continues and debris piles up around the East Wing, many Americans are left wondering whether the project symbolizes progress or the erosion of national heritage. For now, the future of the White House's East Wing, and the proposed $250 million ballroom, remains uncertain, hanging in the balance between modernization and preservation, ambition and restraint, legacy and controversy. In the heart of Washington, D.C., beneath the gray autumn sky, a scene of bewildering transformation began to unfold around the most famous residence in America. The once serene and stately East Wing of the White House, home to decades of quiet diplomacy, first ladies' offices, and whispered decisions that shaped nations, now stood in ruin. Heavy machinery groaned and roared, their mechanical arms tearing through the marble and limestone with cold indifference. Dust clouded the air, swirling through the iron gates where tourists once gathered in awe, and the distant echo of jackhammers replaced the soft murmurs of admiration. America's house, the symbol of continuity and order, had become a construction site. And the man behind it all was once again at the center of a political storm that seemed to follow him wherever he went, President Donald J. Trump. It had begun, as so many things in Trump's political life had, with a bold announcement and an even bolder promise. A grand ballroom, a structure worthy of global attention and presidential prestige, would rise where the East Wing stood. According to his vision, it would be the most magnificent event hall in the world, an architectural masterpiece capable of hosting nearly 1,000 guests. The president claimed it would not just modernize the White House but redefine it, bringing glamour and grandeur to America's seat of power. The ballroom, he said, would symbolize strength, unity, and American excellence. But when the first images of the demolition were published by the Washington Post, the nation saw something very different, a scar on the face of history. The photographs spread across social media like wildfire. Piles of rubble where the East Wing once stood proud. Broken pillars and crumbled walls that had witnessed generations of leaders come and go. To millions of Americans, the images felt like a betrayal, a violation of something sacred. The White House was not merely a building, it was a symbol of democracy's endurance. Every president, regardless of party, had walked through those halls, guided by a sense of duty to preserve it for the next generation. But now, that sense of reverence seemed to be fading beneath the noise of bulldozers and the shadow of Trump's ambition. Almost immediately, condemnation poured in from historians, preservationists, and political figures. The National Trust for Historic Preservation, an organization dedicated to protecting the nation's heritage, issued a letter of alarm. Their words were clear and cutting. The project, they warned, threatened to overwhelm the White House's architectural balance and integrity. The East and West Wings had always served as delicate extensions of the executive mansion, preserving its Georgian and neoclassical harmony. To destroy one half of that symmetry, they argued, was to destroy the aesthetic soul of the building itself. They urged an immediate halt to all work until the proper oversight bodies could intervene. The letter was sent to the National Park Service and the National Capital Planning Commission, the agencies responsible for reviewing any federal construction on protected land. But as of that week, no plan had been submitted. Federal agencies, strained by a partial government shutdown, had remained silent. And so, the demolition continued unchecked. Political voices soon joined the uproar. Former First Lady and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, whose memories of the White House spanned both personal and political history, expressed her outrage in a fiery post on X, declaring, "It's not his house. It's your house. And he's destroying it." Her words struck a nerve with millions of Americans who saw in the East Wing's destruction a metaphor for something larger: the disregard for tradition, the blurring of lines between public service and